Hello, everybody. My name is Brian Rose, and I serve in the VCU School of Business Career Services office as the Associate Director for Career Education. As you see today, we're talking about in-person and virtual career fairs and talking about the elevator pitch that's involved at those fairs. As you all know, times have changed a bit in the last few months, so virtual fairs are not only necessary, but they're also exciting developments that a few folks who have already facilitated virtual fairs have had great experiences, and some students have even enjoyed them even more than in person because of the intentionality behind the one-on-one session scheduling and whatnot. And also we'll be definitely talking about in-person career fairs and preparing for those as well, because those at some point are going to come back, so we need to be prepared for both. So first, when do you use your pitch? You use your elevator pitch, you develop it, and utilize it for career fairs. There's conferences a lot of you attend with the professional organizations you're involved in, any professional networking events, right? As you're meeting new people, it might be a bit more informal than career fairs and conferences, so you might use a little bit of a snippet of your elevator pitch, just getting someone to get to know you and understand what your background and interests are. But at the end of the day, also, what is an elevator pitch? It's something we need to talk about. It's essentially a 60 to 90 second description of who you are, what your background is, what you're studying, why you're studying it, and what your interests are, and how your experiences, no matter where you worked or what your title was, how your experiences have given you skills to do the job and go into the industry that you want to do. So we'll keep going. So we want to start with how we prep for in-person fairs. We'll talk about virtual affairs as well. But when you think about attending a career fair or any networking event, a conference or anything like that, especially if it's in person, how do I prepare for that? One thing that I always tell people, and I mentioned this in my interview presentation as well, is that preparation is the key to excelling, right, and succeeding at any of these events. In any of these interviews, in these conversations, preparation is kind of the cornerstone of how we actually perform well. We don't just show up and wow people typically. So what do we have to do? We need to research the employers and roles. So we need to go on Handshake, right? We need to see who's coming to these events. You also get these emails that say this week in Sneed Hall. They come from Julia Wingfield. So pay attention to those, as they will also list who's coming and oftentimes the roles that these employers are recruiting for. From there, through researching employers and their roles they're recruiting for, you want to create an employer shortlist. We want to have an idea heading into this in-person fair who we're going to talk to, which in a second you'll understand why that's important. We want to choose our wardrobe. We'll make sure we get to professional dress in a second. And then we'll print copies of a resume. Especially for in-person fairs, what we suggest is take whoever is on your short list or whatever number is on your short list and add 5 to it. So if you've put 10 employers on your short list of folks you want to talk to, print 15 resumes. You don't need to print resumes on traditional resume paper anymore. That's sort of out of style. Just make sure that whatever paper you use is a pretty thick computer paper. It doesn't have to be the cardstock or resume paper. Just good quality printer paper is just fine. And then obviously craft your pitch. So what's really important to realize before we move on from this slide is after you research employers and create your employer shortlist and decide who you want to talk to, we need to take that research of employers to the next level. If you have a short list of employers about maybe 10 long that you want to talk to, you want to make sure you dig into to what that employer does and what makes them different in their industry. You don't need to prepare like it's an interview, a full-on 30-minute, hour-long interview, because that would take you way, way, way too long. We're talking about 15 minutes of research per employer, just having a really solid idea of what they actually do to make money, right? How they actually exist as a company, how they communicate maybe some of their missions and values. And also, again, if you can read about a little bit about their history and their impact on the industry, just by looking at their website or something like that, get an idea about how they communicate themselves and what makes them slightly different. because that's going to be important, and we'll make sure we incorporate that into our conversation with them, which we'll discuss in a minute. So with an in-person fair, how do I actually navigate it the day of the event? Well, I check in. There's typically some sort of check-in location, whether it's a conference or whether it's our career fair. Our check-in location is right by the elevators and the security desk. You go there and you get a map of where all the employers are going to be, and you'll see the table layout so that you can actually plan your day, right? You have your employer shortlist, and you can actually plan your day if you want to talk to first. And the reason why that's important is because we encourage you to utilize what we call warm-up pitches, kind of similar to baseball where the pitcher comes out of the dugout and throws a little bit before they are in the game and game ready. It's similar to what we want to do. We don't want to start with our number 1, 2, 3 employer because we're not ready yet, right? Maybe there's still a frog in our throat, or we're still a little nervous, or we haven't practiced our pitch yet. There's no reason to start with employer number 1, 2, or 3. So I would start with someone a little lower on your list. The fun thing about this, though, is, you could have a great conversation with that person who's ranked number 10, and they become, your number 1 employer, which is just fine, too. But all of our employers are great, and all of them are quality. It's just important that your list might look different than other people's of who your priority is, and make sure you go to maybe some folks who are lower on the list. And, again, they might change after you talk to them, but, we don't want to be going to number 1 or 2 first. Take breaks as needed. That's pretty straightforward. And then one thing we want to make sure that we do is ask for and keep business cards. We want to make sure that after the fair we follow up, and we'll talk about that a little bit later too. So as you can see, there's a little bit more on the slide here, which is honestly the exciting part about virtual career fairs. So how do I prep for a virtual career fair before the event? So you'll see that we have on September 15th, 2020, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., we have our virtual career fair, first virtual career fair ever. There's a few things that you need to make sure that you do to participate in this fair and to participate well in the fair. So as I mentioned, we've had some folks who, the Big East, the entire Big East Conference collaborated to have the first virtual fair a couple weeks back. And one of the things that they reported is that employers and students thoroughly enjoyed this experience because of the pre-scheduling feature, because of the intentionality, because of the work beforehand. It didn't feel like I was just, walking around and hoping to have a decent conversation with people, and the employers also felt that the students were a bit more ready and prepared because they knew exactly who they were talking to and when, and knew exactly when they were going to be having these sessions. So they actually came in more prepared rather than, oh, I guess I'll make a quick list and go talk to a few people. That'll be great, right? So anyways, long story short, there is a little bit more work to do before a virtual career fair, but that's part of the fun of it, and that's part of the intentionality of it, both for employers and for students. So first, you want to make sure that you go into Handshake and you actually sign up for the fair. Right? You can't really see any of the employers or any information until you physically sign up for it. So make sure that you sign up for the fair. The second thing you need to do is you need to complete your Handshake profile. For employers to want to meet with you and for employers to reach out before and after the fair, you need to make sure that you take your most updated resume and copy and paste your information from that resume into the sections of your Handshake profile. The next thing you need to do is you need to attach your resume to your Handshake profile. So we encourage you to attach a PDF, and also make sure you title it your first name, last name, and then put resume. The next thing that we want to do is view and research employers. So you'll see the employers who are attending the fair, and you'll see who's coming and see how many representatives they're bringing and how many sessions that they have, which we'll get to the sessions in a second. So make sure you look through the employer list, and on the next kind of dash here, you'll see view the employer list, but also make sure you're reviewing the jobs and internships the employers are recruiting for. There might be a good amount of employers that you haven't heard of, right? And that's okay, but they're recruiting for jobs or internships that are right up your alley. And so You want to make sure that you're not just paying attention to the employer names or anything like that. You want to also be paying attention to what these different folks are recruiting for, what majors, what jobs, what internships, right? And just like we talked about with the in-person career fair, you need to take some time once you create your short list, right? Once you sign up for these group sessions and you have your schedule of who you're going to talk to, right? Once you sign up for the one-on-one sessions and you know who you're going to talk to, we need to make sure we understand why we signed up. We need to make sure we understand what the company does and why we're interested in them. And since virtual career fairs, that level of intentionality is even more so there, all of these employers are actively recruiting for open positions. So we also want to make sure that we understand the job that they're recruiting for or internship they're recruiting for, and understand how our skills and backgrounds are related to it. Then from there, as I've been kind of alluding to and talking about, once you sign up for the fair, once you complete your handshake profile, once you attach your resume to your profile, you're able to sign up for one-on-one and group sessions. What's important to realize here is that from the first fairs that have been organized and completed, about 80% of the employers that attended the fair had their one-on-one and group sessions available 2 weeks before the fair started. So what I mean by that is I'm recording this on August 6th, and we're about a month and a week out from the actual fair. So you might see that there are employers coming, but they haven't listed their availability for one-on-one and group sessions. That's because they're still organizing who's attending the fair, what recruiters and what representatives are going to be a part of it, and how many one-on-one sessions and group sessions they're going to have. So like I said, about 80% of employers 2 weeks before the fairs that have already been facilitated had one-on-one and group sessions out. So likely within 3 weeks from the fair and in is when most of these employers are going to post their one-on-one sessions and group sessions to be signed up for. So start checking now. Start making sure that you can start creating your list even though there aren't one-on-one and group sessions that are active to be signed up for right now. So you can still be creating your list of who you want to talk to. But it's important to realize that most employers are going to detail their availability about 2 or 3 weeks before the fair occurs. Again, start checking now. Check this regularly. See when these availabilities come up. But likely it's going to be 2 to 3 weeks before the fair. They'll make their availability live so that you can schedule one-on-ones and group sessions with these representatives and employers. Just like in person, we want to choose our wardrobe and craft our pitch. We'll talk about in a second. And then the last thing here is be sure to go into our Handshake Resources tab and click on Virtual Career Fair Prep. Handshake created a really awesome resource with screenshots and explanations of kind of the nitty-gritty of exactly what it looks like to both prepare for the fair, to find employers and sessions you're interested in and actually scheduling those. And they did a great job of discussing with screenshots and explanation what it looks like and feels like to actually attend these one-on-one sessions and 30-minute group sessions. So please do view that resource. If I put in all those screenshots and all that stuff, this presentation would be an hour and a half. Which, as much as you all might like hearing my voice, I don't necessarily think you want to be sitting in an hour and a half presentation. So please do make sure that you take everything you learned from this presentation and prepare for the virtual career fair and take it to the next level by viewing that virtual career fair prep resource. So the next part here is what do I wear? So what we'll do is just spend a minute or two on this. We won't spend a ton of time. We want to dress professionally for the virtual career fair to the level that we would in the in-person career fair. So what we're looking for at career fairs is we're looking for and hoping for business professional dress. That's what we're hoping for, okay? So we're looking for business professional dress. In the very least, we're looking for business casual dress for in-person and virtual career fairs. right? In the very least, we're looking for business casual. We are preferring and hoping that you're able to and can wear business professional. So what is business professional? Well, first you can Google it, and there's a bunch of images that you can look and walk through so that you can exactly understand what business professional dress is if you have any questions. Again, that is its own 30-minute to hour-long presentation of full-on professional dress, but we're just talking about it quickly. So business professional, essentially, it's a suit jacket, it is slacks, and it's a button-down and a tie. Or it's a suit jacket and a dress, or it's a suit jacket and a nice blouse and a skirt, or it's a suit jacket and a nice blouse and slacks. So essentially what we're looking at is we're looking at a suit jacket, a blouse and slacks, a suit jacket, a dress, a suit jacket, a nice blouse, and a skirt, or a suit jacket, a button down, and slacks. That's what we're looking for. The colors that we're hoping for is black, navy blue, light gray, dark gray. That's what we're going for. Those are our interview colors. So we want to make sure that any sort of accents that we utilize, it's okay to have some stripe on your tie or a pocket square or things like that, but make sure that the accents are not distracting. It's okay to have a red necklace or a yellow necklace to make you stand out, but just make sure, again, the colors that we're going for, the base colors are navy blue, light gray, dark gray, and black. For our blouses and for our button downs, we're looking for white, we're looking for light blue, we're looking for off-white. Are very much more traditional colors when you think about interview type colors is what we're looking for. And then for business casual, essentially take away the suit jacket, take away the tie, and we're looking for a blouse and slacks, a blouse and skirt, or just a dress, right? So essentially just take away the suit jacket for business casual. One thing I always share with people is until I graduated from my master's program and had a full-time job, I interviewed in solely Goodwill suits, right? I would go and get, on the cheap, I would get some nice suits from folks who gave away the suit before it was well worn. So you can very, very much get good professional, business casual, business professional clothing at consignment jobs at Goodwill. Don't feel like you have to break the bank to make this happen. So as we start moving towards the elevator pitch portion of the presentation, what we want to talk about with the pitch and the foundation we want to lay is to succeed at the fair. It's about connecting with the rep and selling your skills. It's connecting with the representative, it's connecting with the employer, and it's selling your skills. So one thing that a lot of you might have heard of with elevator pitch is you only have 90 seconds with this person, you only have 2 minutes with this person, your elevator pitch is 60 seconds, you have to immediately say hello, and then you launch into this speech, and then they're wowed by it or they don't like you, right? That's essentially the way the elevator pitch is talked about, but that's never how it actually happens, right? And why I say that is because it's more about the conversation. Your pitch is only one part of the conversation. So we need to talk about how do you actually have a conversation with this person, not just how do you, say hello, launch into a 60, 90-second monologue, and have this representative be like, hey, thanks for the speech, right? So oftentimes, especially if there's not a line for in-person fairs, you have up to 5 minutes with this person. So how do you work in your pitch and also have a conversation with them? Because at the end of the day, which I'll get to that in a second actually, so 5 minutes with in-person, and then in virtual one-on-one sessions, you have up to 10 minutes. So you have more time than you think in in-person fairs, and you have 10 full minutes in the virtual one-on-one sessions. So how do you fill it? How do you go about doing that? So what I was about to say before I cut myself off there is it's important to realize the purpose of fairs. And this is where we get into the purpose of the fairs, which is why it kind of launches our elevator pitch philosophy, is that the purpose of these fairs is they are recruiting events. You want to have a conversation with someone in which they are inspired to want to interview you after this. To inspire, they want to be. You want to inspire someone to want you to apply for their job and want to interview you to then hopefully get a job. You do not inspire someone to want to have you apply to a job or want to interview you just by saying hello and then immediately launching into a speech, right? That's not what we're looking for. So we'll get going with our elevator pitch in a second, but the way that we kind of change the pitch narrative is that we really want you to start with a greeting and then an opening question. Then our pitch contains educational background, experiencing skills, and the purpose for engaging, essentially what you're interested in doing, right? And then we'll talk about follow-up and closing. So your greeting, right, is the first and lasting impression. So whether this is in person or whether it's virtual, you're going to log on if it's virtual, or you're going to walk up to somebody and shake their hand, and you're going to introduce yourself. So what we want to go with is, hello, this is my name. Hello, my name is Brian Rose, and I'm a junior studying accounting. Right? So I might say hello in response to them saying hello first, or I might say hello first. Either way, right? Hey, my name is Brian Rose. I'm a junior studying accounting. So they know who you are and what industry you're in and what you're pursuing. If you're in person, you shake someone's hand. You want to make sure it's a firm grip on the hand. You're not just presenting your hand like you're a king or queen and like, a kiss the ring type of thing, right? We want to actually have a firm clasp on someone's hand. And then it's important, whether it's in person or it's virtual, acknowledge the audience. Take that second to say, hey, pleased to meet you, Mr. Brooks, or pleased to meet you, Brian, right? Take that second to acknowledge the person that you're talking to. And then this is why I kind of, ran my mouth a little bit about the purpose of it is to connect to somebody, not just for you to sell yourself. So before you get started, before someone would traditionally launch into the pitch after saying hello and the person you're talking to introduce themselves and you introduce yourself, take a second to do two things. One, ask them a question. But two, tell them the research that you've done. Because I can tell you, employers and reps are so used to people not doing the level of research they should do ahead of time for career fairs. So for you to start the conversation showing and describing briefly the research that you've done and engaging with them in a question before you talk about yourself, that is one of the most impressive and exciting things and exciting conversations that they'll have that entire day. So something like, you introduce yourself, hello, my name is Brian Rose, I'm a junior here at VCU studying accounting. And then you jump into, and thanks for being with me today. I'm excited to be speaking to you because of the wonderful things I've heard about blank company. I've really read and seen through your descriptions that the internship experience is extremely hands-on, and we get to learn a lot of really real-world skills. And the fact that you value interns enough for that, I think that says a lot about your company culture, and that's a culture I feel like I want to be a part of and contribute to. So if you don't mind, what do you enjoy about working at blank? So if you've ever gone to a career fair and tried to walk up and just tell someone your speech and your elevator pitch, you'll remember that most of those interactions are fairly uncomfortable because the representative is just like, thanks for your speech, or they interrupt you, right? It happens all the time. But for some reason, we don't talk enough about launch it with telling them why you're talking to them today, specifically about what you're excited about the company, and then ask them a question. What is your role at blank, and what do you enjoy about working there? What do you enjoy about working at blank, right? Engage with them and show them right from the beginning that I've done some research, right? I've done my 15 minutes of research, my 20 minutes of research, and it hasn't been hours, but I know why I'm talking to you today, and I want you to know why I'm talking to you today. So what's likely going to happen in response to that is the employer is going to say, answer your question, right? They're going to, answer your question of why they enjoy working where they work. And one of two things is going to happen. They're going to say, hey, thanks for asking about that. Can you tell me about yourself? And then perfect. Your pitch is set up and you're ready to go. There's your 60 to 90 seconds about me. Here's my pitch. They set me up for it. Or they're just going to kind of wait, since you took control of the conversation and asked the question. They're going to wait and they're going to think you have another question, which at this current time you do not. And you just get to say, hey, thanks for sharing. If you don't mind, I'd like to tell you about myself and what I'm interested in. That's simple. Transition to your pitch yourself, and they'll say, great. And then your pitch begins, right? And then since you asked them the question and you engage a little bit, remind them of who you are. As I mentioned, I'm currently a junior at VCU pursuing a degree in accounting. And if you are an accounting student, it's important. Nobody else is it really important for your hours. Maybe my actuary students who are planning to take the first and second part of the actuary exam their senior year. But other than that, other than accounting and the folks pursuing actuary, you don't have to mention the hours that you're going to complete upon graduation. But bottom line is, remind them of who you are. As I mentioned, I'm currently a junior at VCU pursuing a degree in accounting. And that launches your pitch. And then in our pitch, we want to think about how our skills transfer to the real world, our skills and experience. I have conversations with students and alumni all the time, whether it's resume, pitch, it doesn't matter. They talk to me and tell me like, hey, I don't have this exact job title. I don't have relevant experience. I don't have this stuff that I can talk about that's quote unquote going to wow anybody. And then we start talking about where they've actually worked and what they've actually done within these experiences. And they don't always think about and realize how transferable these skills are, right? Maybe you've been working at CVS for a few years and you're a supply chain student. And for those few years, almost every single week you help with inventory. You help with making sure that the stuff coming in matches the stuff going out, right? You do the stocking, right? All those operations experiences, that inventory management. It might not be something you're doing every single day. Maybe customer service is the focus of that experience, but you're doing some really supply chain and operations related stuff. So make sure that's what you pull from that experience. So again, think about the transferable experiences that you have that relate to the role. And also think about the kind of cool and important things, right? So I might be that supply chain student, but I also might be a volunteer firefighter or EMT. That's kind of a cherry on top that tells you I can deal with really high stressful situations and I can work really fast and make decisions really fast, right? So think about the transferable skills that relate to the industry that you're going into, but also think about the transferable skills that just really fit for any sort of work environment, right? That fit for just work environments in general. So think about those two things as you're forming kind of the core of your pitch, right? So for example, we're still this accounting student, and so they're gonna, re-remind you they're accounting student, and then they'll launch into the core of their pitch. For 2 years I've been managing the Residence Life and Housing mailroom at VCU. I've grown in my ability to follow procedures, work with multiple constituent groups, manage timelines, and supervise others. I've also become involved in Beta Alpha Psi, the accounting fraternity. So it's important to realize that was just like 10 seconds, 15 seconds. You have about a minute. So you can go even more in depth into experiences. You can bring up academic projects that you've done that have helped you build skills in the accounting field or information systems field or anything. Think about your entire experience. Think about your entire resume. And think about what are the most important and most transferable things that you can bring up. Because again, you have about 60 to 90 seconds here to describe to someone your background, your interests, right? Again, what not to say. I've worked in a mailroom for 2 years and I know that's not related to accounting, but I promise I'll work really hard, right? We need to stop downplaying our experience. Now, maybe some of you have an experience that hits the nail on the head. I have this accounting internship, or I've done, VITA, volunteer income tax help for low-income families. Maybe have some experiences that hit the nail on the head, and that's perfect, and that's awesome, and you get to share those and other experiences too. But a lot of us, and many of us that are going to get these internships, that are going to get these full-time jobs, we're going to get them because of our ability to sell the transferable experiences that we have from experiences that aren't directly connected by job title or by company to the things that we're ultimately going to do with our lives. So anyways, I'll get off that soapbox. Hopefully that empowers you and helps you to understand how to create kind of the core of your pitch and discuss your experience within your pitch. So then we're closing the conversation. Before you close, we want to request some information from the employer. It's important to realize that there's going to be some back and forth after your pitch, which we'll talk about in a second. For your virtual pitch especially, you have 10 minutes to fill. So there's going to be a lot of follow-up questions. It's almost going to feel like a mini interview. So it's going to be a lot of follow-up questions to your pitch. In person, right, they're going to say, this is interesting, that is interesting, tell me more about this, tell me more about that, right? So they're going to ask you questions about yourself. But also as you engage in back and forth, you want to make sure that you're asking questions about, what that person said, right? Engage with that person and ask about the things they said about why they enjoy working at the company, right? All that good stuff. But we do move to some point, whether it's in person or virtual, that we need to close the conversation. This thing needs to wrap up. So ask some of your closing questions, right? Any follow-up questions. What makes your company different than others in the industry? Right? And then the few questions we want to make sure 100% that we ask is, what is the timeline of the recruiting and hiring process for blank? How do I apply, right? What's this process? I've enjoyed this conversation. How do you want me to apply? Do I email you? Do I go to the database online? What do you want me to do? And then we want to make sure we get someone's business card. So in person, we can get their business card. There's going to be a chat feature on the virtual career fair, so you can maybe ask them to chat you their contact information, or they can tell you what their email is, so you can send them a thank you message. But either way, business card, in person, virtual, you want to make sure that they chat you their contact information, or they tell you what your email address is. Either way. And then after the conversation, follow up with the person. So this is the part, this is one thing I always say, and I don't ever want to seem harsh, but I just want to seem very direct and very honest. If you do not send a follow-up after an in-person or virtual career fair, you might as well not have attended at all, okay? Because like we talked about, the entire purpose of this is to do all this work, all this effort, all this research, all this prep, and spend this time from 11 to 3 p.m. with these employers in order to get an interview, in order to then get a job, right? Because these career fairs exist to be recruitment events for people to meet you in person, so that they don't just have to review, right, 200 people that apply to this posting, right? This is an awesome opportunity for them to see college students face to face and get to know you and talk to you. So anyways, bottom line, make sure you send them a thank you note over email, right? Make sure you send them a personalized LinkedIn request, either one or both of those. But with your thank you email, just make sure it's very specific, 3 to 4 sentences. We don't want it to be too long. Hello, Mr. Rose. Thank you so much for the conversation the other day at the career fair. I really enjoyed learning more about blank, right? Customize it slightly for what your conversation was. As per your request, I applied to the position that you mentioned online. I've attached my resume also for your reminder and for your review. I hope to hear from you soon. So you always send them a thank you email and send them a thank you note. If they told you exactly how to apply and if there's a posting already open, attach your resume in PDF form that you submitted to that posting and let them know you applied and let them have your resume electronically. So it's important that if they have that posting open, make sure you let them know that you applied to that posting. And if they have a posting open, you better apply within 24, 48 hours. Apply immediately. Get it done. Get that interview scheduled. Make it happen. If you're talking to someone that's actively recruiting for roles that are going to be posted in the next 2 or 3 weeks, just make sure you send that thank you note and say, hey, thanks for your time. And then when it's posted, they'll likely email you back. And when it's posted, whether they email you back or not, send them that same email of, hey, reply to the thank you email you sent them and say, again, thank you for your time a few weeks back. I applied to the position. I hope to hear from you soon. So again, this follow-up is just as important as all the work you did before. Don't negate all the work you did before by not doing the follow-up. So what you want to make sure that you do is you have thank yous back and forth, especially in person. There's so many people that just do not know how to wrap up a conversation that it's really awkward, and they sort of just like walk away and they're just like, hey, thank you, see you later, right? Look the person in the eye, whether it's video or whether it's in person. Look in the eye and say, thanks for your time, your consideration. I really appreciated you sharing with me everything you did and the opportunity to learn about your company. I'll definitely follow up, as you told me, over email, and I look forward to maybe connecting in the future and applying to the positions you have open. Something like that, right? Thanks for your time and your consideration. I really enjoyed learning about your company. I'll definitely apply, and I'll send you an email when I do, right? Look them in the eye, say thank you, make them feel appreciated, and then let them know you're going to do what you told them to. So you put all this together, right? What does an example pitch look like altogether? Hello, my name is Rodney Ram. I'm a junior student majoring in marketing. You pause for the back and forth, and then you launch into it. Thanks for being here today. I'm excited to be speaking to you because of the wonderful things I've read and heard about the internship program with blank, right? You'd be more specific, but I only have a tiny box to write in. So what do you enjoy about working at blank, right? That opening question. Then your pitch. As I mentioned, I'm a junior studying marketing and planning to graduate in May of 2022. I've recently collaborated with local restaurants to coordinate the social media accounts, and I'm an officer in VCU's American Marketing Association. I'm hoping to pursue a marketing and sales internship this summer. It's important to realize that how do you close your pitch? People have this wonderful pitch with the transferable skills and their experiences and all this stuff, but how do you actually close it? The way that you close it is by saying, and I'm hoping to pursue blank. And I saw that you had blank open, and I'm very excited about that opportunity, right? And I'm hoping to pursue blank job or internship this summer, right? When you want to pursue the opportunity, what opportunity it is, right? Let them know and close your pitch by saying, and I'm hoping to pursue blank internship, blank job this summer, this spring, right? I saw that you had this posted. I'm very excited about it. That is how you close your pitch. And then again, closing in next steps. What's the timeline? May I have your business card? And then in person, this is where you'd likely hand them your resume. You used to hand your resume at the beginning of the conversation. Typically, employers and representatives don't want that anymore. If it's in person, you'd get your resume to them at the end. So a couple quick things here as we wrap up. To be more specific about our virtual fair prep, okay? As we talk about getting ready for that. Again, access the virtual fair prep via our Handshake resource for screenshots and the technical walkthrough that you might be looking for. So the thing that we need to do with navigating this 10-minute one-on-one session that you'll be in is that every employer is likely going to handle it slightly differently, okay? So for the first thing that you need to do is within the first 15 seconds, you need to assess who's taking the lead. And the two questions that are in your mind: is this rep going to treat this like a mini interview? So when we log on and when we get going, is this person taking control and going to, tell me about their company and ask me to tell me about myself? You'll be able to feel it and see it as they introduce themselves first, as they get you going and kind of take control. Are they assessing the first 15 seconds? Are they kind of taking control and treating this like a mini interview? If they do, they'll likely immediately talk about their company a little bit and what they're recruiting for, and they'll say, tell me about yourself. Tell me why you're interested in, talking with us and why you're interested in this role, right? And that tell me about yourself question is your pitch, right? They have taken control. They have started this conversation, and then you share your pitch, right? What's important is, again, ding, 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 this is here to engage. Why can't I talk? This fair is for you to engage with the recruiter. So if they take control and say, tell me about yourself, you complete your pitch because they've asked for it, but also make sure you finish it out with, and I'm really excited to be speaking to you all today because blank. Can you tell me what your role is at blank and why you enjoy working there? Okay? Make sure that you wrap up your pitch with that opening question preparation that we've already done. Okay? Wrap up that pitch with saying, this is why I'm talking to you today and what I'm excited to learn about your company, and tell me more about yourself. Okay? tell me about yourself back to them. Okay? Your pitch, and then ask that opening question that we already practiced and talk about. The next part is assessing that first 15 seconds. If they're kind of waiting for you to get going to do your pitch or to share information or whatever, then you'll know within that first 15 seconds if they're kind of waiting on you. So you need to ask yourself, do I need to take the lead with my opening question? If so, great, jump in there. Treat it just like you would an in-person fair, where you say hello, you greet each other back and forth, you say your names, and then they maybe pause, right? They don't take control like we talked about. And so you jump in and you say, I'm really excited to be speaking to you today because of blank. Can you tell me what your role is at blank company and why you enjoy about what you enjoy about working there? Again, within the first 15 seconds, after you introduce yourself, after they introduce themselves, if there's that pause that they provide that seems like they want you to keep going and they want you to start talking, then you'll know it and you'll feel it. If there's not that pause, you'll feel it from the very beginning after you introduce themselves that they're going to take control and they're going to share about their company, the roles they have open, and then they're going to ask for information about you. So again, just be making sure you're assessing that, because I cannot tell you which way that's going to go. I can't tell you for each employer. After kind of the initial question you ask them or the initial pitch that you have, again, just like you would in the stuff that we just prepped in earlier slides, from there, answer questions and ask questions. So you're going to share that pitch, and then you're going to follow up with a question for them, and then after that question, they're going to follow up with questions for you. So answer and ask questions, right? It's important, as we talked about, to come in, whether it's in person or virtual, with 2 or 3 questions. What makes your company unique or different? Can you tell me more about the roles that you all listed as having open? What does the day in the life look like in that role? So make sure you have 2 or 3 pre-prepared questions for this 10-minute conversation as well. The last couple of things here. Thanks for sticking with me. I know we're above the 40-minute mark, but hopefully this is really good content for you all to understand how to navigate all this. And then we talk about navigating the 30-minute group sessions. Some of you have been in group sessions at different events or meet and greets or whatever, and a lot of folks don't really know how to handle them. But for 30-minute group sessions with the virtual career fair, what will they look like? They can have up to 50 students, and they can all attend this one 30-minute session. If there's more than 15 participants, audio and video are automatically muted so that the employers can present what they need to, and they're not having to navigate a ton of people. But if it's 15 or lower, likely it'll be maybe a bit more conversational, and they'll present, and then it'll be a bit more conversational about that or after that. So what's likely going to happen is that employers are going to present info about their company and info about the roles they have open and tell you all about them, how to apply, why people enjoy working at their company, all that good stuff. And then they're going to allow time for Q&A. So likely, if it's a large group of people, the Q&A is going to be put through the chat. So they'll be able to, just like Zoom that a lot of you have been on for classes, they'll be able to see who's asking the question, and they'll probably take note of who's asking questions and was it a good one. But you'll likely be able to put in the chat if it's a large group. If it's a smaller group, they might have you actually speak the question. It just sort of depends. So what do you do, right? What do you do? 2 things. While it's happening, listen intently and jot down notes, things you find interesting. Right? Don't just, jot down so you can learn the functional stuff, right? How do I apply? What does the day-to-day look like, right? Jot down all that sorts of stuff, take those notes. But anything you find interesting, right? Anything more specific about the company. Maybe it's specific projects that they're working on now, or different acquisitions they've had recently, or just anything that's specifically more interesting than just the day-to-day and logistical pieces. Write that stuff down, because then you can ask about them, and those are more of the kind of creative and interesting questions that people like to see. And then again, come in prepared with 2 to 3 questions about the company, right? I really like the question at virtual career fairs or career fairs in general, the question of, what makes your company different in this industry? And in these virtual group sessions, you can almost ask more sort of interview type questions. You could say, what would I need to know as someone entering this role in order to be successful in this role and in this company, right? You can ask a bit more kind of interesting and thoughtful, more interview type questions, which is kind of fun. So last slide here, or I have a contact us slide next, but the last slide here is the soft skills seal the deal, okay? So whether you're in person, whether you're a virtual, making eye contact, saying please and thank you, actually saying goodbye, right? Being engaged in your version of energetic, right? Following up, actually following up, sending those emails, letting them know you've applied, staying in touch, right? These soft skills seal the deal. It's not just you talking all about your experience and all about your technical skills and all sorts of stuff. A lot of times it's your ability to have a genuine conversation with someone, right? Asking questions, making eye contact, when you're in person, having a firm handshake, right? Being engaged, seeming excited to talk to them. A lot of times people think, and I'll kind of get on a quick soapbox for this, engage in your version of energetic. A lot of times people think that the most talkative and most energetic people are the only people to get noticed. That's not true. Engage and energetic is making eye contact, right? Is speaking with, real intentionality and being able to describe why you're specifically interested in something, right? Being thoughtful in your word choice, right? Energetic and engage is not just your tone of voice. Now, we do want to make sure our tone of voice is more than just talking like this. We want to make sure that our tone of voice is engaged and energetic, but it's also your word choice and the intentional things that you share about yourself and why you want to talk to that company. So the last thing that we'll share today, I know that this has been a lot of information for us, for us to handle in-person and virtual affairs. It's going to be a bit longer. So thank you for listening today. If you don't remember anything else from this presentation, please just remember that we in Business Career Services, we care about you, right? We care a whole lot about you. We just want you to be successful. So please set up a Zoom or phone appointment with a business career coach today. Go to Handshake, set up an appointment. Feel free to email us or call us if you have any questions or have any issues. But again, if you remember nothing else, which hopefully you do remember some other things, if you remember nothing else from this presentation today, just remember we care about you. We want to help you be successful. We want to help you get to where you want to be for your career and with your life. And don't hesitate to talk to us as soon as you can. Again, my name is Brian Rose, and we'll talk to you soon.